A warm welcome to everyone present here. Thank you for joining us on day 2 of the M3 Man Male Masculine Conference. My name is Anita Mitra from the Goethe-Institut, India. In the conference M3 Man Male Masculine, we have brought together intellectual and cultural perspectives from experts and artists from South Asia and Europe on the themes of masculinities. This segment of how to tackle this topic with young people aims to provide a platform to discuss the current visions of masculinity in India and Bangladesh amongst children and young adults. The concept of masculinity shapes young people's thinking and the way they are socialized in their growing years. It forms and sets their understanding, thought process, and action for years to come, which is why it is important for educators, teachers, and mentors to start addressing this topic with the youngsters in various engaging ways. Keeping this in mind, we have today's session by Kirsten Rickerman from Glocal Films on how to engage young people in gender and masculinity discussions through the medium of film. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, you can use the chat box to type in your questions. And you can also raise your hand and on the speaker's request, unmute yourself and ask the question yourself. Since it's an interactive session, we would request you to keep your cameras on for the entire session. And now, before further ado, I would like to introduce a wonderful speaker, Ms. Kirsten Rickerman from Glocal Films, to present the film seminar on how to engage young people in gender and masculinity discussions. Glocal Films is a London-based non-profit film company founded by Kirsten Rickerman and Silke Beller. Their unique approach draws on their experience in filmmaking, participatory video, sociology, and social work. They work closely with local authorities, government agencies, schools, and charities around the world. Glocal Films believes that participatory filmmaking is a powerful tool to engage people around the world in exploring their lives and the world around them. Glocal Film aims to empower people by giving them a voice through film as means of communication. Kirsten, we are very happy to have you here, and the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Anita. Hello and welcome, everybody. Congratulations to Anjana, who has managed to switch on her video. Thank you very much for that. Let that be a good example for everybody else, because I am trying to make this a little bit participatory so that we can have discussions and conversations throughout this workshop. So I kindly recommend for everybody to switch their cameras on if you can. Yes, so my name is Kirsten and I am one of the directors of Glocal Films. And today I want to talk to you about participatory video methods and how to use that as a teaching tool in the classroom. So I'm just initially wondering, who is a teacher out of all of you? Maybe you can raise your hands. Bisma, yeah. Only one teacher in the audience today. Okay. And everybody else, can I ask you? Oh, Anjana as well. And everybody else, maybe people can just say what their professions are. I'm just curious. If you want to unmute yourself, you can, and just let me know. No. Okay. Anyway, so I hope this session will be informative for anyone, teacher or not teacher, equally. And I am going to share my PowerPoint with you and talk you through. So I will talk you through the agenda of today. So far, this conference, Men, Male, Masculine, has been very diverse in terms of the contributions, and I'm hoping that this one will contribute another perspective to the topic and focus especially on how to work with young people using film and opening them up to talk to each other and to a wider audience about those topics of gender, gender equality, what it means to be a man, what it means to be a woman, or what it means to be a human being in this world. So after a short introduction of the method, I will focus on participatory as a teaching tool, and then I will tell you a few tips and tricks, just initial tips and filming tricks and audio of how to optimize the use of your smartphones in the classroom. We do a very short exercise where I am going to ask you to film a very, very short interview with either yourself or someone else who is around in your house. So it would be great if you could have your mobile phones ready with you. And then after the exercise, we'll watch it and discuss it. And I will then, in the second part of this workshop, introduce our work at Glocal Films that focuses on gender and place special emphasis on the project called Ansichtssache, which translated into English as point of view. And that is a project we have done and facilitated with the Goethe-Institut around India and Bangladesh, but also with a group of young men and women in Mali. I will screen a few films and show you examples of our work and what the young people have produced, and then there will be time for questions and answers. Anjana, you have a question already? No, okay. So who is Glocal Films? And Anita has said a lot about us already. I am one of the directors of Glocal Films, and you can see us in the picture. With me there is Silke Bella, and we have co-founded the company in 2004. We are specialized in running participatory video workshops around the world with groups of communities worldwide. So for the Goethe-Institut being one of our clients, we work a lot in the PASH initiative. I don't know if everybody is familiar with that. It's the initiative of the Goethe-Institut that works together with the schools in all sorts of countries that teach German. So we offer our method and our work in the classroom as a German teaching tool. So our students, our participants, they engage in making films with us, their own films, and they produce them in German. And throughout the whole process and throughout the whole workshop that we are hosting, the communication language is German as well. Yes, we work a lot with cultural institutions, educational institutions, charity organizations, and we focus on different topics. We develop the projects ourselves or in collaboration with our clients, and we can fine-tune them and develop them bespoke to whatever the goals and aims of our clients are. We focus on a set of different topics, and currently that is a lot of gender and gender equality. It's also the environment and sustainability, it's displacement and migration, and it's intercultural dialogue where we connect groups of people in different countries, sometimes across continents, to produce films for each other and to communicate with each other through the medium of film. Okay, so if we... The method of participatory video is a method that was developed in the 60s. And it is a fundamentally different approach to filmmaking compared to the traditional filmmaking, because the emphasis is not so much on the final product, but the emphasis is on the process and engaging communities in the process and developing a community cohesion within the group and the dynamic, and reaching all the goals it sets out to do. Participatory video gives a voice to people, and that is what initially was the most important thing for us at Glocal Films. We wanted to move away from filmmakers being the voice of the unheard, potentially, but we wanted to give the voice directly to the people and find out what it is that they are concerned with, but also give them an outlet to communicate their concerns to a wider audience. And through doing that, the community members learn filmmakers, they learn to be journalists, they learn to be advocates, and they get a chance to express themselves, to communicate their concerns, but also to celebrate with each other local knowledge and culture. The approach is always learner-centered and inclusive and democratic, so everybody can take part in the process, everybody of all abilities, of all backgrounds, and also everybody together as a group produces a film, which very often in our experience and working with people and communities from different cultural backgrounds, where maybe also the educational system is different, this sometimes is a novelty to our participants to be so self-led and for the approach to be so learner-centered. They learn with us that there is no right and wrong, that they determine the content and we just give the framework. We bring the technology, we offer our location, but also with Corona, we have the chance to develop our projects online as well. And we have realized that this also is an option and it's possible. It's very different, but still it's possible. Yes, and so what do we do in our workshops? We get everybody together, we get to know everybody, we introduce the project, and then what we do straight away is we give our equipment, that is kind of semi-professional equipment, into the hands of our participants, and we teach them hands-on how to use it. And that is cameras, that is sound equipment, that is boom, and that is the clapperboard. So the whole setup, as you see in the picture, looks like a setup in any kind of film scene, with a lot of people partaking and a lot of people having very important roles and playing together. So it forms the working together of our participants as well. And we then focus on the content, and we help our participants to shape their ideas as a group and to discuss what they want to make the film about. We help them how to script and develop a shooting plan. We then help them through the filming process. We also then help them in some projects, we teach them how to edit, and in other projects, we help them to make all the important editing decisions. And then the final step of the project, and a very important part of every project, is the screening event. And that is a celebratory event where everybody gets together and celebrates the products. And also at the same time, it offers a platform for meeting, and it offers a platform to discuss topics. So in our experience, through the medium of film, people are enabled to talk about topics that would otherwise often be taboo as well. So the method, we believe strongly, is a good tool for the classroom, but it's also a good tool for community work. It can also be used with people as a therapeutic tool, because it allows storytelling and narratives, and it allows healing on topics and traumas that may have happened. So we use it in a wider context, but today I want to focus on the classroom and on it being a teaching tool. So yes, participatory making usually is exciting and creative. It's challenging because it's a lot of work and a lot of discipline. It takes a long time, but it also brings a lot of fun and it motivates students to learn. As I said, everybody is equally in producing the film, so everybody has got the ownership together. And that is very important to us as well, to communicate right from the beginning of where the films will be screened, to make sure that everybody invites their friends and families to the film screenings, that our participants also get the films and can distribute them on their social media platforms, or maybe host their own screening events. The method is democratic in the sense that we also support democratic decision-making skills. So on a lot of different, or during a lot of different steps in the process, our participants have to discuss their ideas with each other, and they have to decide what idea to follow. And it's not that everybody develops their own script or narrative or story, but they develop a story together. And to do that together with 10 people under our guidance, that is a skill in itself, to join the brains and the minds and the ideas, and to carefully listen to what other people have to say, but to also contribute.
One more mail that would have received.
Okay. Using it as a teaching tool for language learning. Throughout the workshops, we speak German as much as we can, and we substitute that with a little bit of English at times, but they are trained to communicate to our students and our participants in German. So they learn to express their thoughts and ideas in German. And if they want to be heard, then they need to use the language. So it helps everybody to overcome shyness, because it's a very product-oriented communication. It's not so much about grammar and how to say things right and correct. It's about just letting your mind flow and voicing that. And throughout the process, everybody speaks, but everybody uses reading skills, writing skills, understanding skills, and everybody gets the chance to really extend their vocabulary as well, on a technical level, but also on the topic level. So if, for example, we are talking about gender and gender equality, it will be a lot of new vocabulary everybody is learning. The final film screenings themselves are a real boost to our participants' confidence and self-esteem. And we love it that everybody is proud, and everybody should be proud, because it's a difficult challenge to overcome, from there not being anything to, in the end, there's a whole film screening with films to watch and to celebrate and to discuss. And our aim very often is that those films then get a wider audience afterwards, and other teachers can use the films as well in the classroom. So we've developed several different projects that travel across the globe, and there is like a film collection that keeps on growing on certain topics, for example, gender or the environment. And so the perspectives get wider and wider. And we invite teachers to use that collection, that film collection, in their classrooms to trigger discussion amongst their students and to potentially use it with didactics in terms of grammar learning or with a focus on certain vocabularies. So it's almost like peers develop teaching tools and produce teaching tools for their own peers. Yeah, usually our film projects last for the whole day, about 5 days, 4 to 5 days in a row. And then usually we, from Glocal, we take 2 days to finalize the editing, because that is also always a very lengthy part of the whole film production that nobody kind of knows about before. But it takes a long time. And then on the 7th day, there's the big screening event and the celebration. Now that we are running workshops online, the schedule is very different, and we stretch it over longer periods and in shorter, smaller bite sizes. So thinking about using it in the classroom, you will most likely not have the chance to work with your students for a whole day, for a whole week. So it's possible to narrow it down and chop it into different sections that you can then run over a period of time, say, for example, in 4 or 5 2-hour sessions or 1.5-hour sessions, you can already engage your students in producing their own film. Yes. Does anybody have a question just now in the meantime? Just wondering. Okay. So then I want to share a few tricks and tips with you that we also use as the initial part of our teaching when we run a workshop. Of course, in 1.5 hours that we have together today, we cannot run a whole participatory video workshop, but I can just give you a few tips and tricks, and then I want to give you a task. And everybody, I would like then to everybody step away and film either themselves or a member of the household with a question that I have prepared for you, and I will let you know in a minute. So tips and tricks. When you are filming with your students, or if you decide to make a film yourself, it's very important that you check the settings of your phone and to put your camera settings on full HD and not onto 4K. A lot of the mobile phones now have the highest technology, which would be 4K, but that means it's so much data load that you will have a problem for storage, but also you will have a problem editing it because it just takes too much space. And because most likely you will be using your films for online purposes, a full HD quality is a very good quality. One important thing that people usually always forget about is the lens of the camera, and to clean it sometimes, because sometimes you may notice when you want to use your phone for photography or film, that's all a bit murky. So just remember, and I can see my lens is really dirty right now, so just to clean it with a cloth as you would do with your glasses. The other tip is usually everybody is used to using their phone like this, and filming for social media is this format as well. But if you want to make a film that also gets shown on different platforms and in different formats, it's very, very important to remember to use your phone horizontal. And this is something we always say, and then we give tasks out as an exercise, and people always forget, and I love it because it just shows how important it is to keep on remembering this. Because if you film like this, you will always, on a normal screen, say on your computer, you will have the black bars at the side and you lose a lot of your image. So it's just not the right format. It needs to be horizontal. Okay, and when you're using your phone and you want to film a lot, then it's a good idea to just activate your flight modus because that saves battery life. Another thing that people like to do is they use the phone and then they just expand their image, and therefore they zoom in to get closer to what they want to film or to change the framing of what they see. As soon as you do that, you narrow your image quality. So it's a very good idea to not ever zoom, but to have it all on a normal setting. And if you want to get closer to physically, then get closer. And in our opinion, this is more ethically right as well, because then whoever and whatever you're filming knows how close they are being filmed. And they can determine also a little bit the distance they want to keep from the camera and from you as a filmer. So then another important thing, because when you make a film, you will edit as well. So sometimes people try already and edit a little bit when they are filming by switching the recording on and off quite fast and think this is the point, I've got enough. But we advise to not do that, but to always film a little bit longer. Just get the camera rolling. Say, for example, you want to do an interview with somebody, just get your camera rolling already and then count to 3 and then let the person speak, because otherwise you may chop some of the words off. And also in the end, once somebody's finished talking, just let it run a little bit longer, just to make sure you've got everything, and you do the edit later on your computer in a different app. Yeah, filming against the light creates a special certain effect. Could anyone tell me how an image looks like when you film against light?
There's too much, there's too much light in the screen. It'll be blurred out, literally. You cannot see anything much, isn't it?
Yes, and also if, for example, you post somebody in front of a window and you want to film that person talking, usually the face comes up as a silhouette, so you can't really identify the face, and the hair is all washed out, but the face is very dark usually, and the background is super light. So the rule about this is the light source should always be in the back of the camera person. So if I am filming, the light should come from my back, always. Okay. Stability, that's another thing. I mean, obviously, if you're using mobile phones with your students or when you make a film yourself, there's a possibility you can buy very cheap brackets for your phone, and all the brackets have different attachments. So you can put a little tripod maybe, or you could even put an external microphone if you like. But if you don't have all of that, or you can use a selfie stick, which will improve your stability immensely. If not, then it's a good idea, I'm gonna try and show this, to hold the camera and then to use your arms as a bit of a stability and tripod and squeeze them next to your body, and therefore you can move like this. And instead of this, your image will be a lot more stable because you're creating a tripod with your own body. You can also find places where you can maybe place your phone, or you can make a little tripod yourself. You can, for example, use a coffee, like a disposable coffee pot, and slide 2 corners into the top, and then just rest your mobile in that. So that's all very easy, very fast, and also it doesn't cost anything. When you're filming, also very, very, very important is not only the image, but sound. And usually images can be rescued in the edit or in the narrative that you're spinning, but the sound can't. If you've recorded bad sound, there's hardly anything you can do about it. If you have a shaky image, for example, or a blurry image, you can tune it so that it becomes part of the narrative and it creates a certain atmosphere and it has a certain impact. But bad and crackling or just disturbed sound is, sorry, is not, is irreparable. So to get good sound on a mobile phone, because it only has the microphone that's inbuilt, if you don't put an external microphone, is you have to go really close to the person who's speaking. And we always give the advice, it shouldn't be more than an arm length. So that's about 50 centimeters, something like that. It's very close. And you will see when you do that, that people get all like, oh my God, you're coming so close and you're putting the camera so close into my face, people get shy. But if you don't do that, you get really bad sound. It's also very important to choose a location that's quiet and to do a hearing check of the location when you step in. So for example, if there is a loud fridge or if there is a loud aircon or ventilator, or in some places the radio is on or the TV is on, it's a good idea to kind of check sound before you start filming or recording and to just make sure that you switch off whatever is possible to switch off, because our ears don't hear it, but the camera will hear it and it will just mix everything into one because it's not a directional microphone that's in the mobile phone. So choose a quiet location. You know, if you want to film people outside, you could potentially then, if you want them to speak, but they are walking next to a very busy road with a lot of beeping, and I'm imagining Indian roads of Indian cities that are very noisy with all the beeping. You can then think of alternative ways of how to tell your story and maybe just film the person walking by the street and do the interview with them later and then put it later. So you don't have somebody who speaks to camera in the images, but you will still hear the voice of the person who you see walking in the image. So it's just a different type of storytelling. So there's always alternatives. A good location to actually record sound, say, for example, if you have a voiceover for your film and you develop a narrative, a script that you write, and then you want to record the text and use it as an audio backbone of your film, under your duvet. Make a big tunnel and just sit under your duvet with a torch maybe and do the recording there. It's a natural sound buffer and it creates very, very good sound. There's no echo and it just quietens out all the sounds that might be going on in your house as well. If you can, it will be good to get a bracket for your phone if you're inclined to use film and your phone for filming maybe regularly, and then you could think about getting an external microphone that you can put onto your phone, or you can attach it to your phone and then clip it onto the person who you're interviewing. When you are recording sound, it's good to do a sound check, record it for a few seconds, check it and listen to it afterwards. Yes, great. These are all the tips and tricks I initially want to share with you. And now, and you have seen that in the trailer, for the conference as well already. I want to give you just very briefly, let's say 5 minutes to film yourself or somebody in your household and ask the question, not what is a real man, but ask the question, what is a good man? And I am going to give you my mobile number. And if you have WhatsApp, it will be great if you could WhatsApp your short, very short answer to me. And then the first 3 that get to me, I can share with you and we can have a look at it. Okay, so just my phone number. 2, I hope. I think that went out just to. Okay, I'm sending to everyone. Yes. So please take 5 minutes from now.
Can you also send your email, because I'm not on WhatsApp, so maybe I could just send it to you on email. Yeah.
Perfect. Yes, here we go. So the first 3 that reach me, we can share. But you've got to be fast because time is a little bit limited and I want to share a lot more with you today. So take 5 minutes and then please come back here. Perfect. I hope people are slowly getting back here. I am going to share the first video. Can you all see this okay?
Yeah, we can see.
Okay, perfect. So I am going to play it. I hope you can hear it well.
So I think a good human, a good man is someone who has lots of love and caring to his fellow human beings and living things. And he should have very good humanistic values. And also he should know how the whole world is basically running. So have an idea about how the whole world runs. I think that to make things. Thank you.
Very nice. So this image, I think that takes an applause already because the first rule of using your phone horizontally you have done. And if you look about the lighting, it's really well lit because it seems like the light source is coming from the side of his head and it illuminates part of his face. And it's very nice. The background is clean and it's also distinguished from him and the foreground. So I like it. It's really well done. Let's see if we've received a second one. Just a second. I have only received this video from Ishma on WhatsApp, but maybe we can see.
You check the mail because it has gone to you.
Has it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm checking. Something is downloading, but no, not the video. Not yet. Okay. Does anyone want to share their video maybe in the chat here, in the Zoom chat?
Christine, I have sent it on your WhatsApp.
On the WhatsApp. I've only got a message from Vishma with a video. Oh, let me see. Yes, there is a second one. Okay. Perfect. And now I'm going to share it. So this is great. That is video number 2. Yes, you can see it. And I'm going to play. Were you all able to see this and to hear it?
Couldn't hear clearly. Yes, we could see it well. Yeah, it's a good image, but just that we
Perfect.
can't hear anything.
Not so clearly. Did you hear it with a little bit of background hissing?
Right. Yes.
Yes. Good point, because that would be, and this is how we do it in our workshops. We give tasks and exercises, and then we watch them together. And we encourage everybody to kind of point out what they have noticed and what was done well, what could be done differently, or what could be done better. And here, yes, there was a little bit of a problem with the sound. And so I'm wondering, did you move closer, and how far away from the man who you interviewed were you? Because there is a little bit of hissing.
There is a bit of a background noise, which include the fan and the rain. It's raining.
Yes. Yeah, and some of the things you will not be able to avoid at all, like rain, but maybe the fan could be switched off. And in hot countries, that's very often the case, that we end up sitting in rooms that are really hot because we switch off air cons because we don't want the noise. Yes, something else that people notice maybe about this clip.
I should have used put it in the landscape mode rather than in a vertical.
But I love it that you didn't, because this just shows again how easily it can be forgotten, because we're so used to just hold our phones like this. So it's brilliant you did it like this, so that we can see again. If you want to share your films with a wider audience, it is so important to just use it like this, unless you want to create like a social media image. Great.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. And maybe towards the end of the session, we get a few more. I am very sorry, but I haven't received your email with the image. Maybe it's still taking some time. If we have time towards the end of the session, then I will share it with you. Right now, I would like to continue and Yes, so in practical terms, if you are using film with a group of people and you want to host your own participatory video workshops, it's always a good idea to give a little bit of input and to teach techniques, film technical skills, but also film theories of, I mean, it's elaborate and it can be vast, but you can narrow it down as well. It just depends on how much time you have. There is also, yeah, maybe the opportunity for you to get a professional filmmaker to help you with the task, or maybe you are very experienced already with filming, or maybe you have a lot of skills with photography that you can then apply onto filming as well, because it's so similar. But this example shows that you can do very short and sweet exercises. And when you screen them back and show it to everybody in the classroom, it already starts discussion. It helps people to think about the images and how they have applied the learning, but it also helps them to talk about the topic and to enter a discussion. So it's short snippets and it doesn't take a lot of time, but it's not only good for language learning, but it's good to break barriers and to start a conversation. And sometimes people find it easier to voice their opinion when they're filming themselves rather than speaking up in the classroom. I am going to share some of the work that we have done. So this is our project Ansichtssache. And Ansichtssache, translated into English, it's point of view. And this is a photo that was taken in Mali, where I initiated this project as a pilot, together with a sociologist and together with UN Women. And we gathered a group of 20 young people. They were young adults between 20 and 30. And we separated them into a women's group and a men's group. And we taught them about the different techniques, but also we spent a lot of time in focus groups talking with them about gender issues and gender-based violence issues and their view on that and the reasoning behind it, their wishes about that, and also their ideas of what could be done and what needs to be done in the society to change things. And then as the next step, we helped them to produce films that were showing their perspectives on the topic. And we separated the groups into the male and female gender to then show the different perspectives and to help them to communicate their perspectives through the medium of film with each other. So in the end of the project, everybody got back together and we hosted a screening event where the women got to see the men's film and vice versa. And we hosted a big discussion group that was actually quite heated. And they exchanged a lot of their views and a lot of their learning outcomes. We also then had the opportunity to develop a whole media package. So we had the film of the women, the film of the men, but we also did a longer documentary about the project itself. And that as a collection was used by UN Women in the whole of Mali. And they traveled with the film package to all sorts of different locations within the country. And they were hosting screening events and hosting discussion groups on the topic. Gender and gender equality is a very big topic all around the globe. in Mali, it is a topic that is known and talked about in the media, but it's not so much talked about privately at home. So it was a topic that can be taboo in some of the family contexts. And through those open discussions relating to the films, we enabled people to talk about it. And that was great. And then we started a project with the Goethe-Institut in Delhi, in Kolkata, and in Bangladesh. And in all three locations, through online workshops, we did the same. We were working in all the three different regions with a group of young girls and young boys, and they were discussing the topic jointly, but also separately, and then they were producing films for each other. And through hosting that workshop in three different locations, it was a growing collection of films that actually got bigger and more enriched with a variety of different perspectives. That was very interesting for us, but also a very valuable contribution to a collection of films that show the topic from different perspectives and highlight different issues that young people are concerned with. And that can be used as a teaching tool in the classroom to discuss the topic further. So right now, I want to share with you the trailer to our project in Mali, so that you can just see a little bit of action behind the scenes and get a little bit of a glimpse and feel for what it might be like to work with the young people in different locations. So if I could ask the tech team to screen the trailer for everybody, that would be great.
Camera on. Micro on. Laissez-nous voler par une pensée. Femme forte. Tapez vos dames, pas vos femmes.
Ce projet m'a vraiment fait comprendre que chacune d'entre nous pourrait être dans une situation pareille, ou une sœur ou une tante. Donc on aurait les mots justes ou peut-être la solution au problème qui se pose.
Entre nous les hommes, on a eu à se dire des choses qu'on ne pouvait jamais dire en fait.
Je trouve que ça va impacter nous personnellement dans nos futures vies de couple et même dans nos vies présentes.
Et on a en tête dans notre société moyenne que l'homme est le moteur de la famille et que les femmes sont notre propriété privée. Ça veut dire notre chambre. Et on a le droit de la cultiver quand on veut, où on veut et à quel moment on veut. C'est cette idée-là qu'on doit s'enlever de la tête.
Moi, je pense que c'est à cause des femmes aussi. Bien vrai qu'il y a l'influence de la famille, mais en tant que femme, il faut savoir ce que tu veux et ce que tu veux.
C'est ce que j'ai dit, le changement doit venir de tout un chacun. Ça doit venir du mari, de la femme, de l'enfant, du citoyen lambda en tant que tel, quoi.
On doit adresser aux politiciens, c'est pas le fait de nous donner des droits, de ne pas appliquer.
Vraiment, ce que j'aimerais, c'est vraiment que le même projet, qu'on puisse le propager dans le monde entier.
Pas de violence.
Yeah, so this was just to give you a bit of a taster. and feel for sorry, for what the atmosphere is like that we create in our workshops. So it's not so much a classroom situation, it's more like a collaborative work experience where everybody is on the same level and everybody is encouraged to think freely, to express themselves, to discuss and create jointly. And yes, our experience is that students love it. They feel very enabled, but they also feel very motivated. And I think especially on the topic of gender, it is very important that we start with the young people to discuss those issues. And if you're thinking about your classroom, then I really strongly believe you need a tool that helps the creative outlet to then be able to talk about it rather than to sit and discuss straight away. So yes, from the heart, I want to kind of give you this method as, I mean, you might use it already in your work environment, I don't know. But I would like it if you were to use it in the future, if you're not doing it at the moment. And, you know, whoever wants to can then also share their experiences and send me an email. You all got my email address or my WhatsApp, and I would be very curious to hear from you and to find out what you have done and also to give you some answers to any questions you might have. Do you have a question right now?
What's your work based in India? Could you tell us about your work based on India? Any project that you're working based on India?
What was, sorry, I couldn't hear that very well.
Yeah, could you tell us about any of the projects that you have been working for India?
Yes. So in India, the projects were in those 3 different locations. And today I brought you the film of the boys group in Bangladesh. And you will see this film really touched us because during the film project in 3 different locations, Bangladesh was the 3rd one in the collection. And it seems like those boys have summarized and made a film that kind of, from maybe in other places, discussions around the topic that were more divided in the gender perspectives, they made it holistic and they made it one and they made peace. And I think they sent out a very great and strong message. So I want to screen that now for the tech team to get ready to screen the second film. It's a film that lasts 8.5 minutes. It is in German, but it's got English subtitles, so everybody can understand it and read it. And yes, it's called The Path to Balance.
Hast du schon einmal eine Waage gesehen, die mit der man die Masse einiger Materialien misst, indem man sie mit der Masse von definierten Gewichtseinheiten vergleicht? Wenn ja, hast du vielleicht bemerkt, dass ohne eine gleiche Masse auf beiden Seiten die Waage in Richtung der leichteren Masse kippt. Stell dir nun die Waage als unsere Gesellschaft vor, die leichtere Masse als die Rechte der Frauen und die schwerere Seite als die Rechte der Männer. Das ist die aktuelle Situation unserer Gesellschaft. Unsere einzige definierte Waage. Nun wirst du dich fragen, was ist falsch daran, dass die Waage unausgewogen ist? Ich werde deine Frage beantworten, aber auf eine andere Art und Weise. Lass mich damit beginnen, was daran richtig ist, dass die Waage ausgeglichen ist. Denk an eine Münze, eine Standard-Kupfermünze. Wenn du sie wirfst, ist die Wahrscheinlichkeit, auf einer Seite zu landen, mathematisch gesehen, genau halb so groß. Warum ist sie ausgeglichen? Symmetrie. Symmetrie ist wunderschön. Man kann sie überall in der Natur sehen. Warum existiert sie? Um daran zu erinnern, dass man alle Produkte der Natur gleich behandeln soll. Die Dinge ist Gleichgewicht bringen soll. Bei uns Menschen ist es genauso. Es gibt eine Symmetrie zwischen uns, Männer und Frauen, die uns definiert und uns unsere Rolle in diesem Universum gibt. Keine Münze ist so verzerrt, dass sie immer auf einer Seite landet. Oder warum sollte ein Ungleichgewicht, also im Fall des Geschlechts, existieren? Der Dichter Kazi Nozrul Islam hat all diese Gedanken einmal in seinem Gedicht Nari, was Bengali für Frau heißt, verpackt. Eine der Zeilen dieses Gedichtes lautet direkt übersetzt: Vorbei ist das Zeitalter, in dem der Mann nicht der Diener, sondern die Frau die Magd war. Dies ist das Zeitalter der Empathie, des Menschseins, das Zeitalter der Gleichberechtigung, und niemand sollte der Gefangene der anderen sein. Wenn der Mann die Frau einsperrt, wird der Mann eines Tages in demselben Gefängnis leiden und sterben, das er geschaffen hat. Etwas Bemerkenswertes ist, dass der Dichter 1899 geboren wurde und 1976 starb. Das deutet darauf hin, dass das Bedürfnis nach Veränderung, das Bedürfnis nach einer Art Aufstand gegen die Gesellschaft schon lange ausgerufen wurde und immer noch kein Gehör gefunden hat.
Der Weg, den ein Mensch beschreitet, der sich selbst als ein Fragment Gottes erkennt, dieser Weg wird Dharma genannt, was so viel wie Gerechtigkeit heißt. Wenn ein Mensch weiß, dass er ein Fragment Gottes ist, weiß er, dass die Schöpfung Gott ist und Gott die Schöpfung. Der Mensch, der dies begreift, ist nicht grausam und hart zu anderen Menschen und Tieren. Er weiß, dass die Amputation eines Organs nicht nur diesem Organ Schmerzen zufügt. Der Schmerz wird vom ganzen Körper empfunden. Solange auch nur ein einziger Mensch in dieser Welt leidet, kann niemand wahre Freude empfinden. Wenn jemand dies nicht begreift, kann er anderen gegenüber hart, grausam und egoistisch sein. Nur um seines eigenen Komfort und Vergnügens willen fügt er anderen Leid zu. Er diskriminiert Frauen und fügt ihnen Schmerzen zu. Damit verbaut er sich den Weg zu Gott.
Seit langer Zeit werden Frauen belächelt und kritisiert, wenn sie versuchen, für sich selbst einzustehen und gegen die Geschlechtergerechtigkeit zu kämpfen. Obwohl sich dieses globale Problem verringert hat, ist es nicht aus unseren Köpfen verschwunden. Die Leute sind verwirrt, weil sie annehmen, dass Feminismus weibliche Überlegenheit verlangt. Aber das ist nicht so. Es bedeutet einfach nur gleiche Rechte und Respekt für Frauen, dass eine Balance hergestellt wird. Die Annahme, dass Männer besser sind als Frauen, wird letztendlich jedes Land zerstören. Wir müssen uns daran erinnern, dass Frauen aus Fleisch und Blut sind wie wir, und doch wird auf sie herabgesehen. Die Erziehung zur Gleichberechtigung muss schon in jungen Jahren von der Familie ausgehen. Jungen und Mädchen müssen lernen, einander zu respektieren und zwischen richtig und falsch zu unterscheiden. Den Frauen, die missbraucht oder angegriffen wurden, muss geholfen werden. Ihre Rechte müssen von unserer Regierung verteidigt werden. Der Beitrag der Männer zur Gleichberechtigung ist sehr wichtig und wird großen Einfluss haben, wenn er stärker wird. Letztendlich ist die Hauptsache die Zusammenarbeit und das Verständnis zwischen jedem einzelnen Menschen. Jeder hat seine eigenen Talente, die uns alle bereichern werden. Deswegen müssen wir alle auf eine bessere Welt hinarbeiten.
Yeah, I saw Vishma, you were clapping and seeing the film again, I feel the same. I just think that group has produced a really beautiful film with a beautiful message that it touches me every time I see it. Yeah. And the students in the project, they were between 14 and 18 years old. And I do think they, you know, because the discussions throughout the project were a lot also around gender-based violence and the different experiences, the perspectives on that. And for them then to come up with this film stood out from the rest of the collection because, for example, in Delhi, in the first place where we did it, the project, the girls were producing a film about a diary entry of a girl who had experienced molestation in the streets. And the boys were producing a film about how they as men are stigmatized and stereotyped and how that takes away their freedom and liberty and how they are impacted by them in a negative way. And then in Kolkata, the girls decided to make a film about, it was called The Red Dot, and it was all about the stigma and discrimination attached to periods. And the boys made a beautiful film that was about one of the boys' mothers, and it was a drawing. So it was a stop motion animation, but the narrative was the life story of the mother of this boy, and he was giving praise to her strength. And through the story, you also learned about his mother's relationship with his father and them as a couple and as a married couple, how they have learned to create an equal environment in the family home. Yes, and in Bangladesh was the last one, and this was the boys' film, and that was strongly on the peaceful, holistic side of seeing things. And the girls' film was a very saddening, very kind of quite brutal film about rape. So spectacular, the whole collection that came out of it. Do you have any questions?
Sorry, I don't have a question, Kirsten, but this is a very relevant theme in the subcontinent, and to bring that message to the children is, it's a big step from you all, and it's, really, it's really powerful. And thank you so much for that. Yeah, because I think, yes, as you said, starts from grassroots level, and yeah, and if you can include at least these many kids, and it can definitely, the message will pass on and affect a major chunk of the society. So it's great that you could do that.
Yes, and I guess, I don't know, you're a teacher, you said, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Are you a German language teacher?
Yes, I am.
And yeah, I think it belongs to every subject.
Absolutely, yes. Well, thank you so much, and yeah, you're doing a great job. Yeah, kudos to you.
Thank you. Maybe somebody else has got a question. And before we finish, I have got the last video that I definitely do want to share. So maybe now that you're still thinking about a question or two, I can show that to you, if that is okay. So, here we go. You can see it well? Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna play this one.
Who is a good man? A good man is one who's sensitive to the needs of.
Okay, very short, very smooth. I guess the stuttering of the image is related to the software that I was playing the clip from. It doesn't reflect on the recording. So yes, thank you for submitting your videos, and maybe you take some inspiration or motivation to discuss the topic further and use cameras to do so. Any other questions?
You can type in the questions in the chat if you want to. We do still have some time in case you have any questions.
Somebody is connecting to the audio.
Kirsten, there's a question. Marty, she's asking how do teachers or how do we incorporate this model online?
So when we teach online, we do it a little bit with that small glimpse that you got. We have a PowerPoint where we break down all the different teachings that we want to do. And in that PowerPoint, we have some video clips that exemplify certain aspects of the technology maybe, or how to use the camera app on your phone. Also, we teach editing with an online tutorial, and we play it and then stop it again, discuss it, let everybody do it in front of their computers, and then we play it again. So our teaching becomes multimedia style, but is always very open to practical exercises and screening those, discussing those, and also entering discussions around the topic. And then when it comes down to spinning the ideas for the films, we do an open brainstorm, and online we usually host groups of 12 students. I'm sure your classroom situation is bigger than that. It is probably also possible because you're experienced teachers. We prefer online smaller groups if we teach on the locations, we host groups of 20 students just to make sure everybody's got a job and a role. And then we put people, after like a general brainstorm for the film ideas, we put people into breakout rooms so they have more space to discuss. And then also what we do is we give a little bit of homework where they continue working on it, or maybe where they do some filming, or during Corona time. We've had experience of people in countries not being allowed to leave the house for like 2 weeks. So a lot of the films ended up being based on online footage, same as you can see with the film of the boys from Bangladesh. And then you just need to make sure that you've got the correct crediting of all the different clips that the students find online, and that you get a little bit knowledgeable about how to credit things correctly to be able to screen the films and use them and disseminate them.
Thank you, Kirsten. Any other questions? Yeah, Visma has one more question. How can we watch these movies online?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because of the complex crediting, the collection in its entirety is not online yet, but some of the films are. And if you leave your email addresses, I'm not sure if Anita, if you've got them already, all of them, but if you leave them with Anita, then you can give them to me and I can forward you the link to the platform where you can see the films that are okayed to be used.
So what we can do is, I think all of you have received a mail from my colleague Shagrika Chatterjee or from me. So you have our IDs. So if you're interested in accessing the films, maybe you can just drop us a one-liner and we can contact Kirsten and send you the link.
Yeah.
So I think there are no more questions.
Thank you, everybody. It's always a pleasure to kind of talk about this topic with practitioners who might use the method. And we have, together with Anita, actually run a training course for teachers in the past as well, which helped to equip all the teachers with all the materials they need to host their own workshops in their classrooms as well, and that in an online or in the frontal classroom context. Yeah, so it's always a pleasure, and thank you for your interest.
Thank you, Kirsten. Thank you so much for this session, and thanks again to all of you for joining us and your interest in this very important topic. We have many interesting sessions on diverse topics on the theme of masculinity that will follow this one. So the upcoming session is at 3:45 p.m. It's a presentation on destabilization of gender and sexuality through dance by Mandeen Raiti, and the link you will find in the chat. And if you're interested to know more about the topic on how to tackle this topic with youngsters, we also have a very interesting talk session on gaming and masculinity by Anoki Shah at 4:15 p.m. Okay, so thank you.